Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about the strangeness that has taken place, but we are now live with this game, Hippo versus g3rd0, here in the top 8 bracket. So quarterfinals bracket between these two players. Hippo has just picked up his Power Glove and a Cane of Burna out of Blind's Hut. We saw a Moon Pearl there as well, and the Fire Rod was picked up by Uncle. My name is Crozone80. I'm joined here by Giselle Shaft. How are you this afternoon? And funny start, but are you as hyped as I am for this race?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It should be a lot of fun. And yeah, already underway in the town. Not too much different. g3rd0 was pulling ahead because of some cleaner movement and whatnot. Just stuff like Hippo's getting caught on stair leg there. But yeah, very exciting matchup. Both these runners, doing well in the randomizer. g3rd0 also really known for doing good in the speedrun. He's a 125 in the speedrun, which is a very, very high level time. So if you're really looking for clean movement and execution, definitely check out g3rd0. As for decision making, it can fall to either player. So it should be a very, very good matchup here.
So we just found boots there in the well as you were speaking. So, and a hammer. So we are full on in Dark World access at this early junction. We did pick up a Moon Pearl as well. I think both players have that from the back of Blind's Hut. So Tracker's just going to be getting caught up as we all joined this race a little late. But thanks to everyone for getting in on this. I'm actually pretty excited to see how things are going to turn out now that this has happened.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting. Obviously, a lot of momentum going in. The hammer can really gatekeep a lot of the overworld, but already having Dark World, there's a lot of different things you can do. I imagine our runners might be a little bit apprehensive to go into the Dark World. Even with the Fire Rod, they don't have a sword to open the curtain to finish Skullwood. So I think at the moment, they're probably just going to do a lot of the popular checks, hoping that they find a weapon or something before they commit. They can use the hammer as a weapon, but it really depends. 4 hearts, you have to be pretty comfortable. Even blind with a hammer can be a very tricky fight.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. I'm sorry to see if they change any of their standard pathing. They might do it. There's a sword there, so that does throw things into a flux. Sword in the maze game, so.
It's a very good find. The sword and the boots are a very strong pairing because even if you have the boots and you try to do something like an item dash using minor glitches, you still need the sword in order to go through certain objects and have the game check some of that stuff. So sword early and the boots, very good.
Yeah, I really like a start like this. It seemed kind of lame at the escape didn't provide much. We should mention, I don't know if you said it or not, but neither of these runners had bombs through the escape. So those 3 chests are live in the escape area. At some point, they might feel obligated to go and take a look.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. They might run in later because they have so many strong items here. They really do have a lot of options. I would say if you're being really conservative, just safe, not wanting to take too many risks, you can, go do South Shore area. And indeed, Hippo's kind of doing that. But then also, you could try to do a quick Dark World tour, going through the town and the village. You could do Skullwoods. Mothula Hammer is a very effective strategy, that type of thing. But I guess for now, they're more worried about finding more items to figure out their progression and where they want to go.
Yeah, and it looked for a moment like Hippo was going to head over to Hype Cave, but then he changed his direction at the last moment. g3rd0 as well, going to go do the standard opening sequence. That we see most of the time, and finding a Cane of Samaria there, soggy under the lake. So more just opportunity to check out various locations, opening up some of these one-off items in the form of the Fire Rod and that Cane of Samaria for clearing very important dungeons later on. Already coming to the runners early.
I expect given the layout of the seeds so far, they might not go to Ice Rod Cave or Agina. Ice Rod being a little bit more popular, but yeah, they got some nice items, and then they still have a ton of value in the Dark World. So we'll have to see what our races do here.
Yeah.
Some money and powder so far.
Wow.
More money. So they're very flush for money and a little bit of health. And it looks like Hippo is going to go do Ice Rod, but given the money and the Moon Pearl, probably going to set up a water dash. You can actually start 2 different states of fake flippers. So using the boots, dashing along the edge, and then manually initiating the fake flipper, you can actually set up 2 states and potentially check the Zora ledge item, but you might just opt to do the dashing water walk.
Yeah, and it seems like a small thing, but the dash water walk just is so much faster. Getting a magic bottle here out of Ice Ride Cave also could actually be very beneficial, having that sick kid check.
Yeah, it should be known that swimming is faster than walking, but of course dashing is faster than swimming. To give you an idea, Link's movement goes at approximately 1.5 pixels a frame, and dashing goes at 4 pixels a frame. So when you're dashing, you really want to maximize the length of dash you're going for. Anything less than about 5.5 tiles is probably not worth trying to set the dash because it is a 30 frame startup in order to begin your dash.
Now, but interestingly, neither runner here actually did set up the water walk dash, both electing to swim. g3rd0 didn't go into Ice Ride Cave as you thought might be one of the decisions that they'd make. So they look to be in the same spot. Hippo's just up that 1 item location check on him.
It's not too bad considering how many options they have. It would make a lot of sense to me to skip those, skip something like Ice Rod. Honestly, the only reason, in my opinion, to really go to Ice Rod is in fact to set up the dashing water walk, but it looks like, I'm not sure if Hippo ended up messing it up or I guess he did store it, but then didn't use it. So that's kind of interesting, but either way, here we are. Yeah, so he did set both states. He stored the water walk, and then he did the fake flipper.
So Waterfall of Wishing location, just getting a little bit of love and a full heart container. So they've now kind of achieved that nice level of health for a lot of those dungeons. A lot more comfortable at 6 hearts than things are at 4 and 3. So some of these dungeons that they have available to them might be a little bit more enticing.
I like what g3rd0's doing here, and then he cancels it a little bit early, but you can actually just dash along that edge, and you'll make it all the way to Zora. You don't have to worry about bonking or anything. Even like that tiny little rock, you'll go right by it. It looks like Hippo knows it too, so that's good.
So we're seeing a split here now as they've save and quit. Looks like Hippo's going to head over to the Eastern Palace. Saharshala Hut checks. Meanwhile, g3rd0's going to go give us a look here at Bonk Rocks. We get our first map check. Looks like a full crystal overworld.
Yeah, he did find a vanilla bow in Eastern before, so maybe this is just a play that he kind of wants to do regardless. They do have a lot on the table, but I mean, 3 items from Saharshala, and then potentially 3 items in Eastern, so maybe we'll just get the back check here. Maybe we'll get the dungeon dip, but g3rd0 now checking the back of Escape.
Yeah, and I like that he remembered that this was a place, and it was just a little bit more enticing to go to because of the ability to check Bonk Rocks there. Still doesn't result in any kind of progression type finds. But it's another location out of the way, and Hippo now going to go and do probably the same thing.
Well, it looks like he's going to check, Bonk Rocks and I guess Aghanim, the Lumberjack. And g3rd0 just going to head straight into the Dark World. So imagine a height cave, and we'll have to see where he goes from here. Having the hammer, he could go all the way up to Catfish, could dip a dungeon, could go to Race Game. Got quite a few options. And do have our map check here. So Pennant is at Torok, Pod, and I missed last location.
Ice Palace. So all the right side of the Dark World is Pendant. So very interesting.
Some pretty fun dungeons to have as Pendant.
So our first item out of Hype Cave is a set of blue mail. There's some bombs, a piece of heart, a full heart container, and 20 rupees. So nothing really extraordinary to find there.
It's starting to look like our worth is probably going to be on the east portion of the Dark World here. Pardon me, west.
Yeah. But g3rd0 is going to give us Pyramid Ledge and potentially up to Catfish. when you have the boots at this early spot, it you know, there's never really a great time, I don't think, to check catfish unless you get the right item combination.
Yeah,
situation. So
I really do like Gerdo's routing. So he's already took Zora, so catfish area is already isolated. So here you can really just clean up the entirety of the eastern portion of the Dark World. So then it makes your western portion a little bit cleaner. Just a tiny bit. With Hippo's route, if he finds something like Flipper's mirror or the like, he might get torn between he wants to do a clockwise or counterclockwise Dark World tour, because he still does have to work all his way to Height Cave, so that'll be tempting. But now if he finds more items, he might be, like, it can really pull a runner. So with Gerdo, he won't have the same temptation having checked Height Cave.
So first item of note here on Hippo's side is just picking up the lantern out of Thieves Town, so no more dark rooms for him.
Well, that's pretty good. That means mountain access. We don't have very much access into the mountain itself, but it also logically opens up pod a lot more. So it's a little bit of information swing, but at the moment, not anything too crazy. We already had a fire source, but Mass's sword is a very nice find.
Yeah, I must say that the last couple of rounds in the tournament, we've seen quite a few fighter swords all the way through to Ganon's Tower, so I'm always happy to not have to suffer through that.
I like seeing it. I mean, who wants to have butter sword, red mail, everything? I mean, come on, fire sword Mothula. Hammer Mothula. Mothula.
Just Mothula in general.
Just Mothula in general. Bombs on Vitreous. It's a lot of fun to be had here, and they're skipping it. Ooh, very nice pixel from Hippo there. And he also had the favorable RNG. Even if you get that pixel, you might not get the RNG to facilitate getting through the hallway there. Again, when you dash, you move at 4 pixels a frame. So when you enter that room, if you don't move and begin your dash, all you have to do is time your button press within that span, and it will line you up perfectly.
So just some more life here at the Magic Bat, and a shield coming out of Thieves Town as well. So neither runner really kind of finding anything too exciting at this early junction. We've had a lot of the world opened up, but it's really just going to be about plugging away at dungeons now, I think.
Yeah, to reiterate, the RNG in the hallway is what's like. Actually getting the pixel, though, you can get it every time, but whether it'll be useful every time is the debate. Yeah, Gerdo got ahead and into the Dark World here. Again, very, very competent NMG runner. Would not surprise me if he did choose to go into Skullwoods early, but when you see he's very healthy, like, he would have very little fear here, I believe. It looks like he bonked the tree hoping for magic. I can only imagine.
Yeah, I was going to say that bonk did happen.
Yeah, there are, again, as an NMG runner, he's going to be very familiar with a lot of the prize packs manipulations, what you can bonk from the trees to get, and it seemed like he was going for that, but...
So Hippo getting a little off script here on blind, but...
Yeah, it should be noted that blind is a determined fight. If you do the fight the same way every time, it will go the same way every time. Having a little bit of a hiccup here, but, still 2 hearts, gets away with the fight, so it's still good. We have our first crystal here, 21 minutes in.
Mm-hmm. Well...
Oh, yeah, lots of lag on Gerdo's screen. Diagonal movement can actually increase the amount of lag, so between adding the bomb sprite on screen and moving diagonally, it added lag. You'll probably notice it as a player yourself when you're fighting mimics. Cardinal movements will eliminate a lot of that lag, and for whatever reason, moving diagonal will add a lot. So yeah, indeed, we do see Gerda going to Mothula. So yeah, very, very comfortable, very, you know, he's been in this situation. Obviously doesn't have Master Sword or Tempered, but he's not too worried about that. Between the Fire Rod, the Hammer, and everything. Very, you know, just a lot of health blue mail. Very, very low for him to worry here. So, you know, a very heads up play here. And Hippo going to join a little bit less health, but, you know, between the Master Sword and whatnot, maybe a little bit more comfort in that regard.
Using that last Fire Rod shot there to collect that key. So he's not going to have any Fire Rod for, well, he'll have one shot for Mothula, but switching over to Hammer, so we're going to see the Hammer strats. A little bit more difficult.
Yeah, it's really not too bad. I actually like to hammer from below Moth the most. The hitbox just works really good. I know a lot of players try to get Moth to be positioned lower. I personally find it to be less consistent and a more difficult fight. There are very few times in the game where you actually actively want to hammer upwards, and this is one of those fights, in my opinion. The hitbox is a little bit disjointed. If you hold out your sword, you can extend the hurtbox, or pardon me, the hitbox, but either way, he does get the 4 hits. Very good fight.
Still not finding that second item, I think. I believe he's still looking for one.
Yeah, I know we found the Ice Rod, but I did not see if we found that other item.
Well, we'll see. If he goes back in, then there's definitely another item. Yep, there in that chest.
Imagine Hippo having Master Sword will probably just opt to use Master Sword. It takes 8 slashes with Master. It would be 4 charges. Of course, a charge being the same as tempered hits, so 4 hammers or 16 Fighter Sword slashes.
Now, it looks like that was the compass, so it's another chest. Either he's miscounted, and I also miscounted, or there's a forgotten chest up in the front part of Skull Woods.
Yeah, Skull Woods is actually a pretty interesting dungeon. There's a couple of different ways to route it, and it really depends on what your intentions are, both going into the dungeon, leaving the dungeon, and then you know, whether it's even a crystal or a pendant or not. So I didn't catch how Gerda routed it, but Hippo taking out the fight is definitely a good fight there.
Yeah, I think it's the very... Oh yeah, it's going to be the chest by the Gibdos.
Yeah, I like doing this myself, entering kind of the middle area here, taking a quick dip. If you got a small key, you can, you know, work your way back. Especially if you have a mirror, then you can mirror to the entrance. But yeah, just kind of leaving these two. They can take a bit of time on the hook shot. That's very good. So Mountain looking very appealing right now.
Yeah, they're going to be able to clear out a large portion of all of the light world on the mountain now, and potentially, if they find the power or the Titan's Mitt along the way.
Yeah, and the medallion, then straight into Tall Rock we go.
Yeah, you know, get that green pendant turtle rock cleaned out.
Well, considering it is 5 items within the dungeon, of course, no mirror, it still has some worth. And was that a sword?
It looked like a sword upgrade there on Bumper Cave, so Magic Cape might draw Gerdo up there if he still has Fighter Sword at the time, but chances are he'll pick up his Master Sword out of Thieves Town, and then it'll be a question mark as to whether or not he wants to ever head there for that Tempered Sword. It's a little bit out of the way.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Girl had Master, and of course, Master is a very strong weapon to have. Knowing where Temper is, though, can definitely save some time. If you don't find silvers for a long time, it might be prudent to go pick up Temper and then go to Ganon Tower. Mm-hmm. But between the time invest and the time save, it might be a little bit negligible, but we'll need to see.
So this means Hippo's going to be the first one out of Skull Woods completely and the Thieves Town area. He'll check his Bumper Cave now, and we'll see if he chooses to head up the mountain or go another direction from here?
Well, Hippo did not check the high cave type area or the pyramid of
Right.
catfish,
So
so I
here's the
think he's
south
just going to continue a southern tour here, moving kind of clockwise. There are no flippers or a couple of other items to really sway the routing, so it was fortunate in that regard. Imagine though after Gerdo is done here, he might do a couple of extra checks and then probably just go straight to the mountain. And I'm sure Hippo, probably ending at High Cave, might in fact just go to the mountain then. There is still like Pod in a few other areas, but in terms of density, it's definitely appealing. Yeah, so get your guesses in if you want, and look at all that money.
Yep, don't need it, but so much.
They should pick it up anyway. They're littering, and they're red rupees. They're the good ones. How can you let such value go to waste?
Lots of digs here.
Yeah, Hippo drawing some sort of, I don't know, poodle image in the ground there, but quite a few digs, and I'm going to continue on.
They're biodegradable rupees, so they disappeared relatively quickly. So yeah, so when you think about where they have to go after this, the mountain obviously is a likely choice, ending up definitely doing Tower of Hera since it is a crystal. In the event that they don't find anything throughout that, it is going to make things a little more tricky. They're going to have to start thinking about dipping some of the dungeons they have access to. Palace of Darkness, Eastern Palace.
Yeah, I mean, Palace of Darkness isn't bad because obviously you do need the bow in order to finish it, but with the potion glitch, you can get all the items. You just wouldn't be able to finish Helmasaur, but this point might be a little bit premature given the fact that you do have access to the mountain and Hera, you know, crystal dungeons and whatnot. So, you know, probably still be willing to put off a little bit, but
Yeah, and that definitely is the path that Hippo's taking at this point. He might swing by Lumberjack Cave before. Nope, he's just going to go in. And I don't fault him for that. If you get stuck, you have to factor that it's likely not anything at Lumberjack. It's a pretty rare chance at this point.
well, I'm not sure if he checked it already because I know he did come out for Bonk Rocks, so
Yeah,
he
did
might have
not
checked
go.
it then, but I'm not sure. I could be mistaken. That was a very good blind fight from Gerdo there.
That was
Where
nice.
where you see blind end up is a pretty good metric for knowing how good the fight was. So blind just ending in that position means it was a very solid fight. The only way the fight could have gone better is if he had had sword beams.
So our first look here at Spectacle Rock, we just see a big 20 on top, a big 20 underneath.
Yeah, this is a one spot where if you know how to hover and you have the boots, it's a very handy skill because you can just hover towards that item, and then of course you could bomb jump back across. But you actually, even in the 100% run, you save close to a minute being able to hover that, as opposed to just going to get it normally.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to see 100% run, definitely check out Zelda's 100% during SGQ. I think it was 2016. Andy and a bunch of them on the couch were kind of teasing Zelda for not going for the hover, but it does save a substantial amount of time for that item.
So Gerdo going through all the digs as we get our look here in Paradox Cave. First two chests are just some money and another full health container. So we're actually hitting that breakpoint in health, I don't think it's really worrisome for either of these runners to need to pick up any more. They certainly won't go out of their way for it, I would say.
Oh no, they're very healthy. Gerdo's already at a point where he's used to his health being close to NMG, and then a blue mail, everything is pretty well free for him. Yeah. Finding a book on the mountain, desert being fully completable at the moment.
Yep, just another crystal dungeon available to them as well. Going to be able to check out that crystal or the ether tablet when they get over to the other side of Tower of Heru. So nice and convenient.
Yeah, absolutely. Good bomb jump by Hippo there. It should be known that if you set up your Y coordinate first, when you go to set up your X coordinate, the game will create a barrier for you, so you will not fall when you're trying to do it unless you purposely try to. The bomb jump can be set up very quickly. It's probably one of the easiest bomb jumps to set up, but only if you set up your Y coordinate first and then the X coordinate. Again, you can try it yourself. There's some videos on YouTube, but the game will create a bit of a barrier to stop you from falling in, or rather to stop you from falling off.
So there, what a serendipitous location to find the Titan's Mitt.
Well, here I was thinking it might have been in Pod, but very convenient.
Yeah, it's going to feel really nice on for both these runners. They pick that up. They're going to be able to clear out Tower of Hera and go through Dark Death Mountain.
Yeah, so now I just need a medallion. So if we're lucky, we'll find something like Bombos or Ether in here, but then it'll be quick acquired. No, but like we find a medallion and maybe go in.
So we are going to have to hit the basement for the big key.
Yeah, the basement is basically a cutscene. The most important thing is that you don't hit a switch an unnecessary amount of times, because unlike a lot of other parts of the game, it'll actually effectively pause the game from advancing. So even in the speedrun, you want to make sure that you only hit a switch once, if you can help it. Or like the required time in order to lower the pegs. Yeah, with the mitts and the book, they do have a few more options. Still no flippers to get into Ice Palace, and it is a pendant, so I imagine unless you're, really projecting an item there, you're not going to want to go for a long time.
Yeah, they actually are in a pretty interesting situation where there's not all that many items that they need. They're definitely, of course, looking for medallion for Misery Meyer, in addition to the mirror and flippers and bow, but actually and flute, of course. But
just a couple linchpin items to really break open things. Again, flippers would open up Ice Palace, but even that doesn't do much, and they've already checked a lot of the water areas. And the bow, which would let you finish Eastern and then go to Pod, which is okay, nothing too crazy. The flute would open up Meyer, which would be good, but yeah, it's kind of a somewhat linear siege here so far.
Yeah, it has not been keeping them away from anywhere that they'd want to go at this point, so that's kind of a nice thing. Sometimes seeds are like that. And there's a tempered sword on Hippo's side, so all 4 sword upgrades now known to us. Well, that's a great find.
Temper is really good. Getting Fighter and then getting Master are some of the biggest upgrades you can get, but Temper is also really good. It saves a lot of time, and in terms of ideal sword, it's probably the strongest sword you'd ever really care to get. Butter can be really good for mitigating damage, and in some very niche situations, considering its charge spin is class 5, not class 4, like its normal slash, will do like an exceptional amount of damage on some particular enemies, but really it's just mostly good for mitigating human error. Anything that you can do with Butter, you can do with Temper in terms of time.
Yeah, it does likely mean that we won't be seeing them pick up that Bumper Cave item, so unless one of them is feeling really, really unquestionable about their performance.
Like the main issue would be having a master without the silvers. That would make for a much longer fight. 24 charge spins as opposed to 12, or of course 4 silver arrows. But considering, already having temper, then yeah, just no longer an issue.
So this is very efficient path down, yeah.
Yeah. Spiral cave here, or when you don't have boots, I like to think of it as pump cave, at least for half of it. Kind of a bit of a cinnamon roll, but having boots makes it go much quicker. And a bomb upgrade, it's a pretty good find.
Absolutely what they're looking for at this point.
Oh yeah, for sure. We're trying to blow up the seed wide open. So make sure you have the assets and resources to facilitate for that.
So we're going to get 2 more checks here in Super Bunny Cave, followed by the 4 out of Hookshot Cave. And look-see at what the Turtle Rock Medallion will be. And then the runners are probably, I don't think they have the right load. Oh, they have canes, so they could even go ahead and do Spike Cave.
That Spike Cave is on the table. But 2 items in Super Bunny, 4 in the Hookshot. I'll get information on the medallion. But if we found our medallion here, maybe it'd be pretty good. I feel like, something like flute or mirror and flippers might come up at some point here. Yeah, I just really need an item. It's called Super Bunny because if you do not have the pearl, you can enter that cave, and without using any extra tricks, you can enter Super Bunny state by falling down into one of the holes. And so, in terms of naming rooms, that just kind of became the accepted name for it. It's one of the 2 common spots for using Super Bunny. The other would be the Mire Shed. You can get the flute and the mitts, and you can go into Mystery Mire, but then you don't have the pearl. But in using the mirror, you can enter Super Bunny state and check the Mire Shed without having the pearl. So have magic and bombos.
And we picked up the mirror shield there. So reflecting all sorts of stuff now.
Yeah, you can send other people, other enemies into the light world, but not yourself.
And now it looks like Hippo's going to head over to Desert. Makes sense. There's still a Gina's Cave Tech as well to go ahead and get done.
And g3rd0 doing Spike Cave here. Only finding some blueberries, but it makes sense. It was in logic, and things are drying up. Obviously, again, Desert being the more obvious play to do. Crystal Dungeon, some items, got the bug. And it's kind of after here, if there's nothing here, they'll have to make more difficult decisions.
Yeah, it will become a point of what decision you're going to make. Oop, Hippo, where are we heading?
Oh, Hippo. Forgot Desert Palace. We outie. Ain't no items here. I know they're in pod. Oh wait, I need the crystal. Okay, we'll go back.
Yeah, that was a curious maneuver. Just didn't like the random seed at that point. Just had to go reset some enemy movement.
Yeah, quick tip. That little desert pit there with the little edge, wall, edge, ledge, whatever. If you don't have a weapon, you can actually bonk against it to get across the sand pit monster. Also, if you do walk into a pit, you can mash L and R to try and advance a pixel at a time. But of course, they had a weapon, so that was not an issue. But I feel like it's not a very common knowledge thing, so figured I would share.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I didn't know about the mashing the L and R there to like left and right to get through that.
Yeah. Yeah, you see the little walls right there. It's about half a tall. You can bonk against it.
Wow,
and yeah,
mirror.
Mirror. That's pretty big. Still need flippers for swamp, but mirror, probably one of the most important items in Rando. Opens up a little bit for them, but nothing too crazy just yet, but great item to have. if only
Yeah,
for warping and maneuvering. And
I must say I got a little prematurely excited there, but you're right. They definitely need either flute or flippers would really make that shine. Flute so that they could check the mire locations, and flippers just to give them completable access into Swamp Palace.
yeah, definitely like a bow or something to reflect the value of the item. Yeah, I was gonna say, you can see players like Andy and whatnot move across pits. That's the person whom I learned pit movement from. We'll see Hippo lining up against the wall here. In order to do a key dash to get through the door without bonking, you need to be on that multiple of 4 pixels. The game operates on a grid pattern, a grid system, so you'll see runners do little things in order to set up the key dash. Hippo went against the wall there, makes it multiple of 4, and he nudges that torch again in order to get that multiple of 4. And we'll see g3rd0 do the same here. He'll get the key, he'll be up against the wall, and then he dashes from the wall. So Lamola, it'll take 2 fire rod or ice rod shots, or 4 tempered slashes, or 2 charged spins. In chat talking about stair lag. If you hold left or right coming out of a stairwell, you will cancel the lag that you'd have. Flippers! Really reflecting the value of that mirror.
Yes, in fact. I see what you did there. But
Swamp,
that really,
swamp,
really
swamp,
blows open
swamp.
their next choice.
Swamp.
Well, both g3rd0 and Hippo kind of experiencing the exact same cycle there on their Landmolus fight, missing 2 snakes in that first cycle.
Yeah, the first cycle, of course, the orientation is pretty well set, but after that, it's definitely an adventure. You had a nice little rebound kind of spin there during the fight. It's definitely good. And Hippo heading to objectively the best dungeon, in my opinion. 6 items in Swamp, so definitely a lot of value here. And a crystal, so again, kind of just the seed being somewhat linear. You can go to other places, but these are the easy, obvious ones to go to.
So g3rd0 is doing something that Hippo did not, and that is checking Agina's cave. So there's a chance that this might come to bite Hippo in the butt.
Yeah, usually, like, if you're doing a lot of these extra checks, like, I guess you can skip a lot of locations, and then, you know, eventually that will bite you. And g3rd0 just being a little bit more conservative, making sure to do the extra check.
Yeah, in this particular case, of course, though, it pays off for Hippo to have skipped that check, at least at this moment. If he has to go back and start looking for one-off locations, it does mean that he's going to have more places and options than g3rd0 will. But for now, the way that this seed has been unfolding worked out rather well.
Yeah, so in terms of items, obviously we know Turok requires bombos, but it is not a crystal. Seed is looking pretty quick so far, so bow and swamp would just, again, like, really help make everything very, very straightforward. Still need a medallion for Mire, so really, yeah, just flute, bow, and the appropriate medallion.
Well, we all know that Misery Mire's medallion is 95% of the time inside the Mire shed, so...
Oh, I thought you were going to say inside Total Rock.
No, that's the other 5% of the time.
And the mirror, obviously leading to Mimic Cave. Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
They can fund that bombo so they can go get their ether.
So both runners just following directly on one another here. There's only a handful of checks that one have made that the other has not. This seed doesn't really inspire any kind of divergent thinking.
I'll be curious to see the item orientation to whether they'll want to do left side. I feel like, I don't know, there's still a bit on the table.
Yeah, with this many items available. Now, it makes perfect sense for Hippo to go ahead and skip left side for now. The real question will be after he finishes Argus off, does he go back? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like going straight to the back is a pretty standard play. Like whether you're looking for one item or not. If you don't get the big key, there can be a lot of backtracking. It's just, I don't know, kind of the way the dungeon's laid out, you're taking a little bit of a gamble either way, but I think it does favor going to the back first. There's your big key. He could go down the stairwell here. It looks like he is. Hopefully he'll avoid the stair glitch. It looks like he's trying to do it. Oh, and he did it. Okay, that's
Nice.
good. He just nudged the stairwell, and then he held left or right coming out. And then, of course, diagonal to get out. Just the compass. So that means there are only 2 chests on the left side. Yeah, for the record, you can avoid that stair glitch, and you can actually create a stair glitch in other stairwells in the game. Something like if you bonk and pod and then dash into a stairwell, you can actually initiate a stair glitch in like the basement and some other places.
Now, we should note that so far, Swamp Palace hasn't led anywhere else. So, in the event that going back into left side doesn't net them anything and Argus doesn't drop more progression, it is going to be time to start seeing a few dips into uncompletable dungeons or pendant dungeons.
Yeah, I think Ice would be the unorthodox play. That would be more the gamble. 3 items, 2 Palace of Darknesses, 5, and then Eastern's 3. And yeah, we don't have the bow, but the key logic might facilitate for getting those items. And even then, the density and the fact you can pair it with the mirror means that the Eastern in-pod area is looking very appealing.
Mm-hmm. And Hippo is not going to bother with left side.
No, makes a lot of sense. There's still a tablet in quite a few areas left, and considering how he's been skipping everything, I feel like unless you're really tunneling in on a specific location, you need to, kind of hold true to that. If it's within convenience, obviously you can go check a location, but a bunch of little one-offs here. Maybe we'll reroute into Agna, or just, find the bow on the tablet, no problem. Tablets with the value today.
They have, that's both tablets providing key items. So bow on Hippo's side there at Bombo's tablet. g3rd0 skipping that.
Yeah, just read a book. Make sure you read a book. It's going to have your flippers, it's going to have your mirror, you're going to have your mitts, and you're going to have your bow. It was written all in the book. Just make sure you read it.
Instead, g3rd0 electing to deal with this big bomb at the pyramid. Must say that I had missed the 2 red crystals, so wasn't aware that Swamp Palace was one of the ones they needed for that, but certainly makes perfect sense for him to be going and doing that at this point.
Well, this is kind of the issue, right? This is where a lot of little swings in rando can happen. Skip every location, but then the one-off locations you do turn out to be right. But then you're in the same situation. It's like, well, there's Pyramid Fairy, that's 2 items, and it's more than the tablet, and you already checked Agnes Cave, so that's not even an option. So from g3rd0's perspective, you're spending time to go check the tablet, not routing into desert, that's already done. And you have your 2 items, and you could route all the way to pod and whatnot. So this is like really unfortunate that he was more diligent in checking extra locations. He's actually, in this case, being punished.
Yeah. So of course Hippo's going to do Eastern Palace first. Palace of Darkness not being a crystal means that if he finds what he's looking for here, the flute perhaps is his goal, and maybe some medallions, he could just skip Palace of Darkness in its entirety. Or at least choose to come back later.
For now, Hippo's is pretty well laughing and get his crystal, and he could dip into pod. Again, Ice is very much looking isolated, just really needs that flute and medallion.
And I would assume that even if he finds nothing here at Eastern Palace, the Palace of Darkness is obviously his next choice. That's why he set up the mirror portal there.
Yeah, so, definitely smart to do.
Yeah, his plan for the next 10 minutes of the game are fairly straightforward.
Yeah, if he had flute, he could have left the portal and just gone to Eastern, really hoping that flute. Well, you'd have to have flute, but really hoping like a medallion or something would have been in here. But considering he has neither the flute nor the medallion, and there's only 3 items in Eastern, expecting both of those to be in Eastern is a little bit reaching. So, getting the portal absolutely makes sense.
Now, there's still a lot of one-off overworld checks for both players. So, after Palace of Darkness here on Hippo's side, do you expect him to go into Ice Palace, or do you think he'll start doing some overworld?
I'm thinking Ice Palace. Could check Village. Actually, maybe Village.
Yeah, he has like the Peg Cave. He hasn't done Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Cave 45.
Yeah, we don't know it's on Smith's or Peg Cave yet, so yeah, I really think like Smith area or Ice Palace.
There's also Graveyard Ledge and King's Tomb hasn't been checked. Bonk Rocks has, but
yeah, I think g3rd0 is probably going to check that right here. There's a couple of different ways he can go, but oh no, he's not going to do it. He does have a mirror, so if he's going to check that, maybe he may as well just pair it with the Graveyard Ledge. Yeah, there are a few options.
Okay.
So there's your butter if you want, but the time spent would basically
Very
just be
unlikely.
time spent. Yeah. But it could be an excuse to, yeah, okay, cape to bumper to mirror to graveyard.
Oh, additionally, we can't forget they did pick up the shovel as well in Swamp. Was it Swamp? Somewhere.
Yeah, and this is kind of the problem if you leave a couple of locations. Like, g3rd0 doesn't have to worry about, some of those things. He doesn't have Agina, he doesn't have, a couple of those locations swinging on his mind. But from Hippo's perspective, there's a lot of little holes all over now. And you can try to route them together, but it's just really a matter of, kind of the path that you take and, where you're willing to invest. Like, he hasn't done, I don't think he's done Catfish. So doing a clockwise tour, going to, kind of like bumper mirror to King's Tomb to Catfish could be a good idea. And work your way, around. And it's really hard to say.
So Graveyard Ledge just was some arrows. Here at King's Tomb's bomb upgrade. These two checks, not worth it.
No, not in this scenario. So yeah, just kind of like the Village, Smith, and we still do have the mushroom. And we do have powder, so the glitch is not really a factor at the moment. I know some people really like the glitch, and some people just don't care about it. But oh, he's gonna say, okay, I really like this. I'm so happy he's saying at the spin speed. Now, it's a Japanese 1.0 exclusive glitch, but the randomizer is based on that version of the game. If you tap A 1 frame after releasing your sword, you will store the boot state. And Bombos.
Yeah, that Bombos medallion is maybe a little kink in the works for Hippo there, thinking might actually have to head up to Turtle Rock.
Yeah, we're now finally getting some divergence. It's being less linear now, which is really nice, but all this means is that flute is in TR.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call it now. It's in TR. No, but in terms of numbers, Turok 5 items, and then Mirror making it 6. So quite a lot, quite a lot to be found there, and it is fully beatable. So if you're trying to tunnel in on items, breadcrumbs and whatnot, then you do have all the items necessary. Yeah, you see Hippo kind of nudging against that wall to, again, set the key dash. You can hold a pot or an item, and if you walk along an edge or even touch across the switch, you'll actually restore your movement. So if you've ever watched a speedrun or done it yourself, you'd probably notice or know that if you, again, go against the ledge or you see runners do that, they're doing it so that they move quicker. And see g3rd0 doing a lot of these little extra things. Unfortunately, the one he needs to do is tablet, but this works well for him because the way he's routing is that he'll get a smith chain and then work it into the tablet. So from his perspective, this is actually very good routing. And I mean, I suppose really from anyone's perspective, this is good routing, just pairing it together. We just know that if you went straight to tablet, you would have found your worth immediately. And wow, hey!
That might be important.
Screw attack, very useful. Unfortunately, this is not the crossover, but that is another medallion that may in fact be required for Meyer. I kind of joked about finding Ether in Turok before doing bombos, but now I wonder if Ether is in fact the medallion for Meyer. But probably not.
Still gonna have to track down that flute, so we know, as you say, it's definitely in. Ooh, silver's on the smiths. That's a nice find too that Hippo might actually never get to if Ether is not required. Presumably if Ether's required, he'll do it.
Yeah, unfortunately, so Hippo found Turok makes sense, and getting himself dead rock blocked, all he had to do is hit the dead rock twice. Before it solidifies, you can actually hit multiple times, but you need to, obviously be aware of that, and then make sure you do it. So if you have the hook shot, you can actually hook shot them 2 to 3 times, or you can sword slash them twice. So if they are in a poor position like that, just make sure you're going in ready, and then you'll hit them a good 2 times to make sure they're out of the way. Yeah, so a little time loss for Hippo, but he's still looking very comfortable at the moment.
Now, if g3rd0's likely going to pick up his bomb here after taking this purple chest back, or his bow rather. If this purple chest does hold the flute, though, could be a tremendous advantage for him.
Yeah, that would definitely be very good. He would be poised to be in a winning position. He still needs bombos, but he just would have very few questions left to, ask himself as a runner.
Well, he doesn't need bombos.
Well, yeah, if flute's sorry,
if he finds the flute, yeah.
I mean, he'll be in the pod area, but yeah. Pardon me.
Yeah, it's just I find it, it's very interesting that the lack of a bow is now going to rectify itself, since he will, I assume, go check the tablet after he turns in this chest.
Yeah, no, that's honestly the way why he read the way he did. Hippo went straight for the tablet, kind of left Pyramid Ferry and wasn't really considering the village in Law 1-Os. He's skipping a Law 1-Os, and then he went to the tablet, which had the values, so obviously now he's immediately cashing in on the value. But g3rd0 is basically kind of routing ahead for the long haul, assuming that so much of the world opened up. He could do the Pyramid Ferry, which is 2 items, and would take about the same time as the tablet, and you could have gone into pod, the Palace Darkness area, but instead didn't and went someplace else. But of course now got to flush out the entire village area to the tablet.
Yeah.
So now he has the bow, so that's good. And now he'll do the stuff that Hippo is doing. And considering how much he checked, yeah, the flute is probably in Turtle Rock.
Yeah, if he had found it, it would have been a tremendous difference, but we were really fast running out of places for the flute to be.
Yeah. There is still, of course, Ice Palace and whatnot, but again, in terms of density, green pennant, having all the items really early, just having more items in general. Turok is more likely, but remains to be seen. Very, very nice. Very nice taking out the Hokuboku there. That one's pretty simple to set up. The RNGs are somewhat inconsequential. Later, he'll be coming up to a room with 2 Hokubokus, and there are 16 RNG patterns there. They're not too bad for the most part. Just kind of like more time to save.
Interestingly, this does open as people in chat starting to comment. Flute could be on the pedestal.
Well, that's very true. It might be prudent then to finish Turtle Rock, considering its density, get the green pennant, as the raw turn in, but also chip away at the pedestal requirement. And so yeah, that Hokuboku pattern is probably the worst. There are 4 RNG patterns, and that bottom left one, while very quick, is pretty tricky. But in terms of time save, if you execute them all, they're somewhat comparable to each other. Yeah, chat kind of mentioning it, but the Lumberjack is a little bit of a question mark. When you check Bomb Crocs, that's a normal time to check it. So in my head, I kind of assumed that he might have checked it. And then when he had another chance, he did not check it. So I'm not sure if he ever actually did, but he had the opportunity twice.
So we're going to see our Mimic Cave here. Going to have basically a full clear of Turtle Rock.
Yeah.
But I have to believe that Gerdo's going to follow this exact same path, really, at this point.
Yeah, definitely. Follow the items, and he's checked so much. At this point, it's somewhat linear for Gerdo. For Hippo, it's very much more open-ended. Again, there's a lot of locations all over. And considering his gambles, if you gamble those locations, you're going to have to stick pretty hard to those gambles. You don't really want to backtrack if you can help it. You want to make sure that the fact that you did skip an item or location will pay off for you. Otherwise, why skip it in the first place kind of idea. And you can assume that maybe your opponent did in fact check. But yeah, the double Hokuboku room, he got the second best pattern. The best one is when they both move up immediately. But, so it's fortunate that he didn't get the best pattern because he did not walk in with his sword charged. So Gerdo making his way through healthy arrow counts, so he did not open up the pots in a speedrun manner. If you do, the bubble will never ever hurt you. So in this case, you kind of had to do a little bit of an extra maneuverment, but obviously it's somewhat minor. And here we have a laser bridge, mirror shield, and yeah, our flute. Yeah, just go to where the items are.
Yep.
Flute and Turok, it's not uncommon. Oh, he has to be careful here. Yeah, he's gonna... no, I guess not. Not even pick up the heart.
Well, it kind of hesitated there. I think he might actually be thinking about finishing off this dungeon.
It's pretty interesting to get the flute. But he doesn't know what medallion he needs, and he's so deep into Turok that if there is something here, it'd be catastrophic. He's probably considering his item count. And I think he's also contemplating the safety door, but with the powder and the bubble, just a non-issue. Yeah, flute is good. They'll open up the mire area, so a few extra checks there, but again, we don't know if we can actually get in. If that is ether, it'll be huge for Gerdo. I say huge, but really it just means Hippo needs to go start checking the locations he didn't go to.
And it is a very enticing location. Peg Cave is probably one of the first places I think Hippo would start looking in the event that he doesn't find what he needs already. Just because that south route that's the natural start to the south route in the Dark World, and so.
Yeah, this is kind of what happens if you do choose the forego locations. Then all of a sudden you have to go back towards a lot of them, and hopefully not too many are isolated from one each other, but I'll have to see. Just 10 arrows, but if it is pedestal, then that's one more item. So one more of the pennants for unlocking it, and of course it will trade in the green pennant. Activate your flute, and then maybe just fly over to Pod or Eastern to cash it in. And yeah, we're going to go into Pod. Makes a lot of sense. Again, 5 items, and he will find bombos here, but unfortunately nothing else. You can't go into Turok, so that's not an option for him. Ice is not very appealing, and he did basically clear everything. So he really doesn't have any options here.
Yeah, well, he does need to go into Turok, so getting bombos to get him in there is clearly going to be a good thing for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, of course, chat, get ready for the Hyrulean National Anthem. So, a quick little tip. When you call the bird, there's a little bit of a delay from when you activate it. So Hippo didn't do it there. I'm not sure if he knows. He is setting up Byrog glitch though. Spooky action, Marauder entanglement. Basically, if you have the boots and you activate the bird, if you do an item dash with the flute, you'll cancel the startup of the bird and it'll come much quicker. So he lost about 6 seconds there waiting for the bird, but I mean, you know.
So it looked like it was a Quake medallion to me. That ether is not going to help Gerdo out at all. Red mail here in Myershed.
So it is Quake. It's pretty funny. So Quake in Ice Palace.
Yeah.
This is such a scary position if you're in Hippo's position, because you do have a lot of momentum, but considering you left so much, it's like, does he, jump back down to Agina? I think that'd be a pretty, natural thing to do here. Or where do you go? Like, you have so many low locations.
Yeah, I just went back into his portal there, but
having doing a little soul searching here. I'm not sure where he's intending to go. Sick Kid. I don't remember if Gerdo actually did cash in for Sick Kid.
Yeah, Gerdo did do that very late in the game, but just picked up a big 20 from it.
Yeah, so I guess in terms of strategy, Hippo, from Hippo's perspective, again, you have so many low locations and they're going, oh gosh, is it in Swamp? Is it at Agna? Is that Catfish? Is it, in Pyramid Ferry? Is it all these low locations that, are left on the table? Is it Spike Cave? Like, literally, you have everything just kind of, strewn about. But if you did skip some locations, considering a player like Gerdo, top speedrunner, and also a top rando player, if you did check those locations, that could mean the entire game. So in terms of strategy, you might forgo those locations that you did skip much earlier. But I'll need to see what he opts to do. And yeah, Gerdo having bombos going for Torok. So even though Gerdo checked a few extra locations, he was very thorough in his checking. So this kind of adds to, more consistency in terms of results and what you'll find in terms of item.
Yeah.
So he'll go here, and the longer Hippo has to check, the more time Gerdo is going to gain. Of course, having the privilege and knowledge, Hippo knows he does not need that either.
So it turns out that this means that our runners are actually going to be pretty much on par with one another. I would assume that Gerdo's going to take his time through Turtle Rock here, finish that off, and Hippo, unless he makes a miracle check in a place that